With Pokemon Legends ZA coming soon, I wanted to head back to Kalos, but not just for a casual stroll through Lumio City. I'm taking on Pokemon X in a hardcore Nuzlocke using only Pokemon introduced in Generation 6. Yeah, that's right, only Kalos Moms. Which, if you've checked the Pokédex lately, isn't exactly a deep roster. We've got about, 70 options total, and half of them are weird bugs or fairies that nobody has used since 2013. But that's the point. Before Legends ZA drops, I want to give some of these forgotten Pokemon a chance to shine again. Or, faint heroically in battle. No items in battle, level caps, permadeath, the works. Can a team of Gen 6 misfits actually survive the Kalos League under hardcore Nuzlocke rules? Let's find out. After waking up from a horrific nightmare, the nightmare being that I am stuck in France, I get dressed and head downstairs to meet the neighbours. I tell them they are only allowed to address me as Big Dog and that I will not respond to anything else, and thankfully they're all good sports. We choose our starter and I decide to go for Chespin. Delphox has the coolest Mega and Froakie is the fan favourite, so I wanted to get the grass type some time in the spotlight. We call him Conker, yeah, they are everywhere in the UK right now, and we beat our rival, let our mum know we're going on an adventure to leave the country, get Pokeballs, and the run officially begins. And we can immediately secure some team members in every single early game area. On Route 2, we get the regional early route normal type. In the forest, we get the regional early route bug type. And on the other side of the forest, on Route 3, I get the early route bird Pokemon. How daring. But our final encounter before the first gym is the fire type Litleo, and to be fair, we do have some good diversity on the team, I must say. And with the team all the way up to the level cap, our bug type fully evolves and we can take on the bug gym. I lead with our bug as our pot flying type will help us defensively. We paralyse the Surskit and can take it down in 2 struggle bugs, and this brings out their ace, another Vivillon. They use Infestation, which does little but traps us in and does chip damage each turn as we get the paralysis off. As we are locked in, there is little we can do apart from protect to reduce the incoming damage, and unfortunately we do fall to Infestation chip. Losing a Mont this early is so annoying, but thankfully our Firecat can come in and take it down with a few embers after they use their potion. First gym down, but it does suck to lose a Pokemon that early, especially our Butterfly. Thankfully, like I mentioned before, the early game is absolutely stacked for us, as before we even head to see the Professor in Lumio, so we can pick up a Flabébé. Now this is probably the first fairy type you encountered back in the day, and it is pretty... yeah, it's a pretty flower, let's just leave it at that. After defeating Sycamore and permaboxing Squirtle, we can press on, and on Route 5 there's a plethora of encounters we could get. Furfrou, who has proven before that it's amazing. Pancham, a fighting and potential dark type, but no, we get Skiddo. We then do a load of story stuff and get the flu after watching the fireworks at night for the first time ever since playing X and Y for the first time. And then in the palace grounds we can pick up a Honedge, and this thing is awesome. Steel and Ghost is honestly go-to typing, and hey, flame me in the comments. This is the first time I have ever used it. I haven't used most Pokemon in Kalos if I'm honest. As a child I chose 2 that I liked and said, that's enough for me. But Gita the Skiddo does solo Snorlax, and then on Route 6 we can get the Cotton Candy Pokemon Swirlix, which is just yet another mid-fairy type. What more can I say? We get our first meaningful evolution of the run as our starter evolves, and it just goes around. It really is turning into a Conker. We briefly head into the Battle Chateau, which honestly I'm still not sure of its purpose. Is it supposed to be like the Battle Tower, or just somewhere to really slowly grind XP? After picking up a couple more encounters down the coast, we have our first run in with Team Flare, crush them and get our fossil, and this is the one I'm excited about. This mon, honestly, Tyrant, when it evolves, top 5 Pokemon design, I don't care what anyone says. This thing is so cool. Grant, the rock type specialist, is the second gym leader, and this can be a very tough battle. But we have a Skiddo. Our goat can set up Leech Seed on their first fossil as we get our speed lowered by Rock Tomb, and then I switch into our new encounter, Binnacle, aptly named Handster. And thanks to Leech Seed, we can whittle it down and KO the ice type, only getting paralysed in the process. His own Tyrant comes out and hits a bite, bringing us low and flinching us, so I switch into our starter, and the next turn we get a Leech Seed off as we are brought below half by a Rock Tomb. I then switch into our fully evolved Rabbit, and 2 double kicks later we can take the T-Rex down, securing the second gym badge. And at this point you may be wondering, big up the real JC, which encounter did you get on Route 10? Was it an Eevee, which can evolve into the best fairy type Sylveon? Or maybe Horlucha, the fan favourite who was known for carrying runs? Nah, I fumbled big time, KOing the Eevee that we found. Never mind. We destroy the 2 Lucarios. They just simply can't touch Ghost type, so Honedge had a fun time. And we can pick up the Pika clone Dedenne before the cave that we named Pikachu, just to save us from the confusion. Our squid then evolves into our Lord and Saviour, Calamari, and he goes to town against our rival in the Tower of Mastery, KOing Serena's Meowstic with Foul Play. I switch out when Absol comes in, and I switch into our starter on a crit slash, and then we miss our Leech Seed the next turn. We are of course too low, so I have to improvise, not like I plan much anyway, as you can tell. But Litleo can only get a Fire Fang off before being brought too low, so I switch into our Ghost type, hopefully on the normal type move, but no, they go for a bite, which almost KOs our sword. I switch into our Burb, and a bite does over half, but gets the flame body burn. That is so clutch, that saved us big time. I Rooster heal up after surviving a slash, and a few turns later it falls, and this brings out her final mon, her starter. I switch into Malamar on a Psybeam, which doesn't affect us, and scared of being locked in with Fire Spin, I switch into Binnacle. A Psybeam does huge damage to us, and our super effective Stab Clamp does less than a quarter. We can't switch as we are trapped, and we fall the next turn. Calamari can come in and take it down with a Foul Play, defeating our rival, but poor planning on my part lost us our second mon. But it's not all doom and gloom, because much like the first time we faced Karina, her Pokemon can do nothing to Honedge, so once we get up to +6 attack, we can fire off 3 aerial aces, 1 for each mon, and get a clean sweep dub. Ghost type is honestly so OP in any Pokemon game, especially early game, as they normally just have normal moves, but it's even better in a game where they don't give leaders optimal movesets. We do the whole Force Mega thing, and then I realise that we will not have access to a single Mega Evolution this run. Well, that's a couple of battles that I'll have to rack my brain for. We say off to Lucario, and we have to face our rival again, and she has exactly the same team as before, and my god, this is where the wheels truly come off. Calamari takes Meowstic down, but gets brought below half, and Absol comes in, so I decide to set up a Reflect, and we get hit by a crit slash, but survive. I switch into Geeta on another crit slash, and we get hit by a bite before landing a Leech Seed. A bite flinches us, and then we get smashed by a crit slash that KOs. Holy smokes, that's unlucky. Yet again our bird comes in and burns with Flame Body, and we can bring the Dark type down. The starter is now out, and I switch into our own starter on a Psybeam, and then switch into Litleo on a Fire Spin that misses. We trade blows, and they trap us in with Fire Spin, and we do bring it low, but they do take our cub down. Our sword comes in, and we get the KO with a priority Shadow Sneak, but man, that is a poor effort from me. We need an easy win to boost morale, and thankfully there is a certain one, and it comes in the form of the gym battle with Ramos. His jump bluff does outspeed Fletch Inder, but their acrobatics does half, whereas ours Oko's. As his ace comes out, I switch into our Ghost type on a takedown, and then set up some Swords Dancers so I can fire off a super effective aerial ace that leaves it deep in the red. They heal, but the next turn I Shadow Sneak, so our aerial ace KOs. And his last one is a Weeping Bell, and after a super weak grass knot, we can OHKO with another. We seriously needed that. And the slide. The next route is the desert, and this is arguably the most annoying place in any Pokemon game thanks to Dugtrio. If you know, you know. But the power plant segment is nice and easy. Our bird, now fully evolved, easily deals with Mr. Worldwide and his partner's Mons. I know they are back-to-back admin battles, but when they only have one Mon, it is just way too easy. With power restored to the region though, we can head into Lumiose and light up the tower, and man, I hope the new games do this justice. This could be breathtaking in Legends ZA. But what isn't breathtaking is my performance against the 5th leader Clement. I had this awesome strategy with bugs where I power up punch sweep, but we get paralysed by static on the first turn, so it doesn't go to plan. So I switch into Calamari as they volt switch and bring in Magneton. I bring our rabbit back out and we can take down the steel type, getting up to +3 attack in the process. His ace Heliolisk is out, and expecting the grass knot, I switch into Chesnaught, our fully evolved starter. And with Leech Seed and power up punch, we can take it down and get a couple of attack boosts, in the process bringing out his final Mon, that darn Emolga. And this is where it happens. Our starter gets destroyed by a 4-timed effective stab aerial ace. My god, what a fumble. Thankfully our Pika clone can beat theirs, but damn, that sucks so bad. Our starter, our first Mon, gone. I used to love squirrels as well. We finally get revenge on Serena after all the hurt she has caused, and we wipe the floor with her. Bugs KOs Meowstic with Stab Dig, Bouquet the floor just destroys the Absol, and Calamari KOs Delphox. But it's not all good news, much like the rest of this run, as we encounter a Gumi in the swamp, but it unfortunately doesn't want to stay in the ball and dies to burn damage. Brilliant. Just what this run needs. The absence of the most powerful available Pokemon. But this upcoming battle against the 6th leader was a sight to behold. Bugs the Bunny goes absolutely in, stacking up power up punches and then digging its way to victory. Mawile goes down as it is super effective. Mr. Mime sets up a Reflect, so it takes 2 to KO, and Sylveon gets the exact same treatment, bringing us low, but not stopping the Carrot Muncher. That was insane. We are now at the point in the game where it is just Team Flare business, so we deal with them at the Pokeball factory using our newly evolved Tyrantrum, who is coincidentally our team mascot now. And before we deal with Team Flare again at the Frost Cavern, we can pick up a Klefki on the way and a Bergmite. I do love Avalugg. Controversially, I think it is such a cool mon and it doesn't get the love it deserves. And we take on our rival again before the next gym, and thankfully this is yet another breeze. With Malamar, Tyrantrum and Florges, we can deal with her with no trouble at all. And neither was Olympia, the 7th gym leader. Her psychic Pokemon were no issue. Avalugg wears down her Sigilith while burning a potion, and then Heliolisk can come in and KO with a parabolic charge, nearly healing to full. A Thunderbolt does huge damage, and a Psychic brings us below half and lowers our special defense. The next turn they heal and we get some health back with parabolic charge, and we can KO the next turn with a T-Bolt. Her ace is out and I stay in and fire off a Thunderbolt for over half, and we survive the incoming Psychic on just 6 HP. And because we outspeed, we can KO the next turn, claiming our penultimate badge. And then it's time for the climax with Team Flare in their hideout. I won't bore you with the details, so after clearing it out we press the big red button, and who knew that that activated the secret weapon? Anyway, we travel to Geosenge Town and are forced to capture the box legendary. Side note, I've just realised that they have no impact on the story, like, at all. They're not even mentioned before this point, I don't think. Anyway, we have to face Lysander for the 3rd time in about 10 minutes of gameplay, but this time his team is hella scary. His Mienshao starts with a Swords Dance, which is just ridiculous, but we go for a superpower, and due to Calamari's contrary ability, we get a defense and an attack boost. They then hit a high jump kick and we survive deep in the red before we KO the fighting type. Pyroar is out next, and for some reason I switch out rather than staying in, and I bring in Tyrantrum and we avoid the Fire Blast on the switch. A Dark Pulse brings us to half as an Earthquake falls just short of the KO, so we have to take another before taking it down. Honchkrow is out and I switch into our Ice type, who can take the bird down with 2 Ice Fangs, and this brings out his ace, Gyarados, who immediately Mega Evolves into this beast. Due to our sky high physical defense, we survive the incoming super effective Iron Head, but it flinches us. I don't want to sacrifice Titanic, so I switch into Talonflame and hope for the Flame Body burn, but no, it doesn't. Expecting the Aqua Tail, I then switch into Heliolisk thinking I can outspeed and KO, but it just OHKOs us. Welp, that's my only hope out the window. I bring in Florges and again we get outsped and OHKO'd by an Iron Head. This is looking so dire. Talonflame is out and I go for a fly that does so little and we get KO'd by Outrage. My only hope is confusion from fatigue, so I send in Avalugg and Malamar to sacrifice, and then I bring in my Dinosaur. They hit themselves in confusion and a Dragon Fang boosted Dragon Claw brings them below half and I have to go for it. And they hurt themselves again, so we can KO the Mega, defeating Lysander and Team Flare once and for all, saving the region. That battle was insane. We got so lucky and we got it done. My god, we really need to develop the squad again. And that is exactly what we do. We pick up a Noibat in Terminus Cave and immediately level it up so it evolves into an awesome Noivern. And with the Dust Stone in that same cave, we can evolve Doublade into Aegislash. Fun fact, it doesn't learn King Shield via level up, which is an absolute scam. And then I realised that I can get Sliggoo on Route 19. Yeah, I don't particularly plan my encounters beforehand or do damage calcs. Man, I'm so good at this. I'd just like to be authentic. We do catch this Sliggoo and I aptly name it Redemption. And we immediately evolve it into the pseudo-legendary Goodra. Not the most prestigious, but it is still a powerhouse. Thankfully, I absolutely nailed the rival gauntlet on the bridge, and then we can pick up another Mon who I actually think is an awesome design and I can't wait to use. In the Deep Forest, we can find a Trevenant. This haunted tree is so cool, especially around spooky season. But now it is time for the final gym, and this is usually a cakewalk, and this time was no different. Klefki can paralyse a Bomb of Snow, set up some Calm Mind, and then KO with a Flash Cannon. Cryogonaut gets paralysed before I swap the keys for Pikachu and eventually take it down after 2 Hyper Potions and many Parabolic Charges. And his final Mon is his own Avalugg, and knowing its special defense is super low, I go for a Volt Switch and we OHKO the beast, defeating Wulfric and claiming our 8th and final badge. After passing through the badge gate and making the grueling journey through Victory Road, Serena stops us one final time, and this is for all the marbles. Tyrantrum can take a Psychic before OHKOing the Meowstic with a Crunch. Altaria comes in, and expecting the Dragon move I switch into the Dene, and 2 play roughs later we can also get the KO. Delphox, her starter, comes in and I get brought low by Psychic before Volt switching into our pseudo legendary, but they pivot into Jolteon as our Aqua Tail misses. Their best move against us is Quick Attack, so a few Dragon Pulses later we can pick up the KO on the best evolution, with leftovers keeping us nice and healthy. Delphox is back out and her Psychic does little thanks to our special bulk, and an Aqua Tail lands but leaves it deep in the red. We get brought below half next turn, but we can pick up the KO and her final Mon is Absol, so I bring in Slurpuff for their only showing of the run, and after taking a Night Slash we can OHKO with a Play Rough, defeating the last trainer standing between us and the Pokemon League. And this is the final team I decide on. Trevenant gets promoted, and I also forgot to teach Aegislash King Shield, but I'm sure that won't come up at all. There is nothing left to do other than pray to Arceus and head on inside. I decide to take on the Water Specialist Seabold first, and we lead the Dene against their Clawitzer. We can fire off a charge beam, but we don't get the boost, and we get brought below half, so I Volt Switch for the KO and bring in Trevenant as they bring in Gyarados. They set up a Dragon Dance, which is super scary, but we land the Leech Seed thankfully. And due to Big Root, we heal so much from Leech Seed, so I stay in and an Ice Fang does huge damage, and I go for a Phantom Force to not only do damage, but get an extra turn of healing. I don't want to risk our trees, so I switch into our Steel type, but they miss the Ice Fang anyway. They then full restore and I fire off a Thunder Wave, and for some reason I stay in and our keys get destroyed by an Earthquake. If you don't know, I don't bother with damage calcs because I'm not a nerd, but I do look at teams in advance, so I don't know why I left our Steel type in. Anyway, Dedenne can come in and pick the KO with a Volt Switch, and I bring in Trevenant again as they bring out Barbaracle. A Stone Edge does huge damage, but a Horn Leech OHKOs and almost heals us up to full. His final mon is Starmie, and aside from a Psychic and healing, this is an easy KO for our tree. With only 5 mons, this is going to be tough, and I take on Drasna and her dragons next, and I need Trevenant. You'll be seeing a lot of our tree in this final stretch, and it might look like we have a disadvantage here being weak to poison, but due to Leech Seed healing and Phantom Force, we can KO the dragon while staying at full HP, and they wasted both heals. That is huge. Noivern is out and I stay in and hope we survive an Air Slash, and we do, but we get flinched, so no Leech Seed recovery. I pivot into Aegislash to bait the Flamethrower, and then I bring in Goodra and we tank the Dragon Pulse so we can fire off an Outrage that OHKOs the Bat. We also outspeed the Altaria and OHKO that as well. And then we break through Confusion to OHKO the Druddigon, beating the Dragon Master. We did get a bit lucky there, I can't lie. Next up is Wixstrom, and if you haven't noticed by now, I don't have a strategy for any of them aside from Leech Seed, and that is exactly what I do against the lead Klefki. But their Flash Cannon lowers our special defense, and then their Dazzling Gleam brings us below half before recovery. I switch into Dedenne and we can get the KO the next turn with a Volt Switch, and I bring our tree back in as they bring in Scizor, and I risk it. I stay in and we survive the Night Slash on just 15 HP and land the Leech Seed. I switch into our Steel type on a Bullet Punch and load up on 2 Swords Dancers with Leech Seed keeping us healthy, and we can KO with a Sacred Sword. Probopass is next, and I would love to OHKO this thing, but we can't because of Sturdy, so I switch into our Dragon on a soft Earth Power. And this is a long slog with us trading blows and then burning heals, but we are brought too low, so I decide to switch back into Aegislash on a Power Gem that does so little, so we can outspeed and KO the next turn with a Sacred Sword. And his final mon is his own sword, so I switch into our Dino on a Shadow Claw, and we can OHKO with a Strong Jaw boosted Crunch. The final Elite Four member is the Fire type Team Flare member. Well, I think she is anyway, and she leads with Pyroar on our Dedenne. Our attack gets lowered by Noble Roar, but we hit a crit Charge Beam that gets the boost as well. We do get burned by a Flamethrower, but we get another boost bringing them below half. We then get brought to just 13 HP, but I go for a Parabolic Charge, so that KOs and heals us a little so we survive the burn. Torkoal is out, and as we outspeed, I Volt Switch, which does huge damage into Goodra on a crit Earthquake, but we can outspeed the next turn and KO with an Aqua Tail. Talonflame is out, so I switch into Tyrantrum and we absolutely wall them. Well, we would if we didn't get burned. We still pick up the KO, but we are brought into the red by burn damage, and her final mon is Chandelure. And expecting a Shadow Ball, I switch into our special tank, but we get our special defense lowered. Brilliant. I can't switch anything in, so I fire off an Aqua Tail and we outspeed, which is crazy, and we do big damage, but they just go for a Confused Ray. I risk it and go for an Outrage for their accuracy, but they outspeed this turn and go for a Shadow Ball, and we survive on 7 HP. And we break through and we KO with an Outrage, getting burned in the process, but it doesn't matter as we have won. Goodra honestly has my utmost respect. They absolutely clutched up. And now it is time for the final battle for all the marbles to prove that Kalos mons are not bad and to let me escape France forever. But this battle is a lot simpler than the entire Elite Four. Hawlucha cannot hurt Aegislash, so I stack up 3 Swords Dancers to get up to maximum possible attack, and proceed to sweep through her entire team. Hawlucha goes down to a priority Shadow Sneak, Goodra falls to a single Iron Head, Tyrantrum also falls to an Iron Head, Gourgeist falls to another Shadow Sneak, Aurorus falls to a 4-time stab Iron Head, and this just leaves her ace, Gardevoir, who immediately Mega Evolves. But a super effective priority Shadow Sneak OHKOs her Mega Ace and secures the victory, defeating the champion and answering the question, yeah, the Kalos Dex is alright. This run was awesome. I find the Kalos region so nostalgic, but only using the native Pokemon was actually difficult. Are they weak, or was I just dumb? You decide. I thank every single one of you for watching, and if you enjoyed it, hit the like button and subscribe for more wacky Pokemon challenges. And if you have anything to add or a run to suggest, let me know down below. And with all that said, stay classy and have a wonderful, wonderful day.